like Vice President Pence said, our nation's in a lot of trouble. I am a CEO of an investment bank that I co-founded 20 years ago with my father, and it's grown to be about 400 employees across the nation. I have a deep understanding of economics and what's the money supply problem due to all the spending we have, all the pressure that banks are facing right now because of inflation, and now the Fed trying to stop inflation. Met with a regional bank yesterday that's in trouble, and it could be in deeper trouble if the Fed keeps raising rates. And so we're in a coming storm. We think we have a trouble now. It could be much more severe, and so I'm seeing a pathway through that. I'm really running for the next generation. I've got 5 kids, 13 to 23, so I'm running for my kids, my grandkids to be, your kids as well, because we don't navigate this the right way. Some of the things that we saw in 2007 and 2008 could be a very small, mild indicator of what could be to come. I really do feel this way. If we don't solve our biggest problems, which are inflation, our debt, and navigate it correctly, we could set up the next generation likely to have the weakest economic foundation since the Great Depression. We have to do that. If we don't do that, we'll never lead strong across the world like we should. We'll never really get back the freedoms that we have in our country, because one of the things that takes away our freedoms the most is not just debt, not just corruption, but it's also the division in our country. And so I'm also running as a pastor. My wife and I have been in ministry for 24 years, and we founded a church 10 years ago. And I think everybody knows we have a deep spiritual problem in our country.
We've seen nothing yet. I mean, if we look at today, I've just been looking, well, this morning even, just across a broad scope of mainstream media in the US, just to see where other analysts are seeing this debt going. And most of them are coming out with saying by 2030, it's going to be $50 trillion. I mean, these are just eye-watering sums of money. The second real issue is the fact that in order to service that debt that they currently have, the United States government are paying $1 trillion in interest. And just to put that in perspective, we've covered a lot on the program, just the size of the US defense budget. So actually the servicing of the debt on top of all this borrowing is way more than the actual budget. And then we go on to other issues in the US economy. We go on the fact that there are huge budget deficits right now. You've got those things that people need in order to survive: education, infrastructure, healthcare. There's very little public available healthcare in the US, and none of those things can be serviced right now. And a lot of US politicians are saying, look, the House does not have enough money. We can actually listen to a clip from Byron Donalds, who is a congressman in Florida, and exactly what he has to say on the matter.
There's no money in the House right now for Ukraine. There's just not. It's not there.
You mean there's no support for money?
No. And to be blunt, we're running a $2 trillion deficit. Any money we give to Ukraine, we're borrowing from our future. That's the facts. Those are the truth. You feel how you want to feel about it. I'm here to tell you what's right and what's real. Look, it's not a good time for him to be here, quite frankly. That's just the reality. And the third piece is what's happened with Ukraine is frankly the fault of leadership of Joe Biden. Let's be very clear of that. So don't put that on the backs of the American people now. If we had a commander-in-chief who knew how to lead as opposed to take naps, then we would be in a much better situation when it comes to Ukraine and global security.
I really love that clip, Rachel, because I think it epitomizes the whole thing. Byron Donalds, he represents one of the poorest districts in Florida, Florida being one of the poorest states. It's not all Miami and palm trees down there. And I think, he's making that point. He's an African-American man representing a majority African-American popular constituency, if you like, down there. A lot of people in his constituency are living off food stamps. And just for people at home, that means they don't have a job, and the government has to give them literally a stamp to go and get bread and water from the supermarket. At the same time, Zelensky is about to turn up again at Congress and start walking around in his combat gear and lecturing Congress as to why they should go and give him even more money. This is with the budget deficit, I said, being $70 billion, and now he's going to go and ask them for more money. I mean, it's just audacious, really, isn't it?